Bluetooth.
Conversation, giving fresh insight for elevation. Cause he knows this is how we reach our greatness. Anybody with the people of all walks of life, cause we all can vote. So when one win, we all win. So we all in. This is how we build community, you dig? So tap in, I will do it now. You want answers, we'll break them down. The most informative place around. This is strategic moves we can down. This is strategic moves we can down. This is strategic moves we can down.
Hey, what's up, Cleveland? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Strategic Moves Radio Show. I'm your host, Ken Dow, and we're broadcasting right here on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is a place where we bring art, culture, politics, business, where we all bring it all together and we interact. And I want to make your next move a strategic move. So this program gives me an opportunity to do that. I've been working in the political realm and government and governmental relations and community relations in our state and in around this community for over 20 years. Had the privilege of meeting some fascinating people in our city and across the nation. And this show gives me an opportunity to bring them in, to talk a little bit and tackle some of the issues that matter and empower you to be a part of the conversation. So if it's something you think you might be interested in, what I need you to do is just go ahead and you can call in at 216-271-0959. That's 216-271-0959. That's the call in number. And you also, if you're following us on Facebook or YouTube, you can leave a comment there, any question that you would like to do at that time. And we'll be able to answer those questions for you at that time and we'll be able to put it on. But before we get started today, I want to give a quick shout out to my co-host and producer of this program. He kind of helps me put all of these things together. He's the producer of our podcast. Have a podcast that comes on a weekly basis as well. Shout out to DJ Troop. What's happening, brother?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing today?
Every day is a holiday, brother. Every day is a holiday.
It's a cold holiday out there.
And that's why it's a holiday. Most holidays, there's a lot of holidays in cold weather, so this is going to be one of them.
Yeah,
So, what's happening in your world?
well, before we get rolling on our show, we definitely want to send our heartfelt wishes and prayers out to the people in LA, going through the Southern California, LA area, going through the wildfires. And I know Cleveland has probably got a lot of relatives. I even have a cousin out there, and I got to give him a call, even though he's in like San Bernardino. I don't know how close, but the wildfires just spreading crazy. So I just wanted to shout them out before we get started. Let's keep LA in our prayers.
Yeah, that was one of our topics we was going to talk about today was the California wildfires. I had looked at the news this morning coming in, and they said that there were some winds that are going to be coming in that's going to make the fires even more um, a problem today. So, our prayers go out to everybody out there. I really hope they kind of figure out what's going on. It's really wild what's happening when you follow the story. Everyone is pointing the fingers now of what started it and who did it and why the government didn't do certain things in order to get things going. So it's going to be a trip over the next few years because it's well in the billions of dollars of destruction that happened out there. And on top of that, the people out there wasn't eligible for insurance. So if you lived out there and you bought a house out there and
Wow.
this kind of thing went out, so there's people who really lost everything out there. Insurance companies would not insure those properties. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the new administration deals with that. And they're fighting over it right now as we speak.
Yeah, that's terrible because I mean, you get a house, you would think you almost really have to get insurance. Most of the time when you go get a mortgage, one of the first things you do is get an insurance policy on your house to replace or cover damage. So I don't know how these insurance companies get out of, not paying or not
Nothing.
insuring
Oh,
houses, not insuring
you
properties.
can't make nobody do anything. So it's
Right.
their money, their investment. If they don't want to
So they
insure,
just they feel that is such a risk, I guess.
yeah, you got to get insurance. You just like anywhere else. It's a risk.
Man,
And in California, in certain areas, they wasn't insuring you. You bought a house there.
that's when the government should step in there. Like,
Well,
how am I gonna get a house out here and I can't get insurance?
don't buy the house.
Okay.
I mean, that's the
That's
easy
it.
answer. I
That's
mean,
it.
that's the easy answer.
I want to get to the hard answer, man.
Let's get to some other stuff here. But our prayers do go out to everybody out there in California, and we will keep you posted on anything. I know there's people all over the world that's even, I even saw an article, a thing today. The fellas in Ukraine, the president of Ukraine, actually wanted to send people over to help with the
Wow.
fires in LA. So they're in the middle of a fight and they want to stop their fight to come over and help us with this fight. So that's really huge. So they're getting a lot of support from a lot of various different
That's
places.
pretty
So
noble.
that's pretty notable. So also in rumor has it that
Trade rumors. Oh,
trade rumors is talking about our boy Miles Garrett is planning on leaving. And I just saw that today, and we're not a sports show or anything, so we're not going to dive deep into that. I just want to bring that to everybody's attention. If you get a chance, look at there. There was an article. I
he,
don't know if he's going to go or not, but I did see
he
something
may
about
be going to the New England Patriots. As one story says, we don't know how deep how deep that goes, how deep the rabbit hole goes right now. But New England Patriots was just as bad as us. They were 3-14. The only good thing that and optimism I would say is they just hired a new coach. First year coach Gerard Mayo was a New England Patriot, got fired, and then they hired Mike Braden, who was I think an 8-year player with the New England Patriots or played a pretty long time, won 3 Super Bowls with New England. So he is now the new coach. He's a former Tennessee Titan coach, coached 6 seasons over there, and had a pretty decent record, had a winning record over there. So
it. And our Cavs are still doing their damn thing. I think we Cavs are still doing what they do best.
yeah, the Cavs last 3 games, the big game, Cavs versus Thunder, they won that game 129-122, and that was the battle really for supremacy in the NBA. The Cavs was the best record, and the Oklahoma City Thunder was the second best record, and we prevailed. Then the very next day, we beat the Raptors, the Toronto Raptors, 132-126. But our 12-game streak, winning streak, ended on Sunday with the Pacers, and we lost that one 93, 108-93. But we played the Pacers again today. So
Is that here or what?
I think that's away because the one Sunday was here. So we played them in Indiana today.
Excellent, excellent. And last, in this little news thing we want to go through, I saw another article I thought was interesting. This one was in the Signal, Senior Assistance Initiative, Cuyahoga County, in partnership with Cleveland Housing Network, Cleveland Housing Network Partners, is offering eligible seniors up to $10,000 in assistance for property taxes. So these are things that can go to you if you're delinquent with your property taxes, or you need help with paying your taxes, or you fell behind. If you're a senior in Cuyahoga County, you have to be, here's the catch, you have to be 70 years old or older. You are eligible for $10,000. So I wish they would lower that amount a little bit. I know a whole lot of people would love to benefit from that. But if you're a senior in Cuyahoga County and you need some help in paying your taxes, and everybody's taxes and property value assessments went up this year, and that was and it affected a lot of people in our town. So this may be something. So if you need some help, please go to Cuyahoga. You can go up to Cuyahoga County, look them up and get that information online, or you can go to Cleveland Housing Network and ask them about the program for seniors so that you can get some help and assistance if you need help in getting your taxes brought up. So we got coming up on our show today. We got a few people, and it's going to be a fun, really big show today. We got a few people going to be dropping in and calling in and talking with us today. Later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Dr. Heather Burton. She's a DEI expert to discuss the rollback diversity incentives across corporate America and government programs. We also are going to have on our show today Mrs. Jovan. I hope I pronounced it right. And she's gonna tell me if I did it wrong. Jawan Smith, founder of Get Our Babies to College 101. And we also have a gentleman coming on, also Tim Woods, the founder of the James Foundation for Justice, to give us an update on what's been going on with his thing. So we want everybody to sit back. Again, this is a call-in show. So if you're interested in calling in, you got something that's on your mind, we call it What's on Your Mind Tuesday, where you get an opportunity to call in and be a part of the conversation. If that's something you want to do, just give us a call. You can give us a call once we get ready to do that, and that call number is 216-271-0959, and we'll be right back.
Call us on 95.9 FM WOVU. Live at WOVU.org. Or comment on our social media. Let's hear from you.
Hey, welcome back to the Strategic Moves Radio Show. I'm your host, Ken Dow. It's a place where we bring art, culture, politics, business all together, and we do it every Tuesday right here on the WOVU 95.9 FM and right here in their studios here right here on Kinsman Avenue. Let me slow it down a little bit. Okay. All right. All right. So joining us today is one of none other than Jawan Smith, a powerhouse in educational advocacy, and empowerment. Jovan is the founder of Get Our Babies to College 101 and A Thousand Ties, two programs that are transforming lives of our young people in Cleveland. She's an author, a speaker, and a true change maker in our community. Jovan, welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me. And it's Joanne.
There it is. I knew I was messing that up. I knew I was messing that up the whole time. It's Jawan. That's her name. Hey, I'm sorry about that. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, excellent. Hey, before we get started in the show, why don't you give us a little background about? I know what you're from, Cleveland. Give us what area you're from, and what kind of inspired you to get into what you're doing, and tell everybody what you're doing.
So I'm from the Huff neighborhood. Grew up there, went to school there, raised my children there. And the reason that I started my work was because I was becoming an advocate for not only myself but other children. So I started Getting Our Babies to College 101 because I didn't feel like the parents were being included in the college prep process. I kind of felt like we were kind of left out when we are key players in that process. And so as my daughter decided she wanted to go to school, I just felt that, me being able to do research and help her in that way could also help other families. And so that's kind of what started me with Getting Our Babies to College 101.
And what, talk a little bit about the ties as well. You have a program called A Thousand Ties.
Yes, it is. So A Thousand Ties came about after I watched my son teach himself how to tie a tie on YouTube. And so it kind of made me feel that, as a single mom, I know I'm not the only single mom that has been in that position. And so it just made me look at all of the different skills that our young men don't have. And so I wanted to create an opportunity for them to get those soft skills that are kind of being lost in generations, that are really basic, that can build confidence and create opportunities for them.
And where do you have these classes at, and where do you teach them at?
So currently we are in three different school districts. And so we have our mentoring program, which runs in the middle schools. And then we have our life skills programs, which run in the non-traditional high schools. So Invictus, Frederick Douglass, we're at all of their campuses. And so the students are getting life skill credits for learning things from kitchen safety to how to change a tire, to first aid CPR, to entrepreneurship academy, to even learning how to fill out an envelope and write in cursive. So, and we also have a community-based mentoring program that's open to young men all over Northeast Ohio, and that program is free, and that's for ages 8 to 12 and then 13 to 17.
Really? Okay, that sounds really good. I wanted to ask you, when you talk about your kids and getting ready, getting prepared for college, how how difficult is that, and what were some of the challenges you saw and trying to put that together, and some of the things you faced in order to go through the steps. I went through it 4 times. I had 4 kids who all went through college and had to go through, and it was different. It seemed like for every last one of them. And
Yeah.
by the time I got down to the last one, we really feel sorry for her because she really kind of put herself in school.
'Cause every child is different, and what every child needs is different. And then the lack of access to resources and information was like the biggest thing for me. That's kind of why I started what I do, because I didn't feel like the information was being fed to us.
Hmm.
And my daughter has dyslexia. She had an IEP, and she was actually told that she wasn't going to go to college. She was going into the workforce. And so that kind of really motivated her to want to go to college. And so as a parent, when your child tells you this is what I want to do, it's like, okay, how do we figure this out? And so I think the lack of access to resources, the lack of information that's fed to public schools, the we even had, because she played sports, so I was reaching out to scouts, and so we would even get, oh, we don't scout in Cleveland, and
Mm.
so they would say, the kids from Cleveland would come, but academically they couldn't hold up, so they wouldn't scout them. So that became a huge barrier.
Oh, I see. Give me some of the biggest transformations you've seen with some of the young men. I'm a stickler for these young men. I really like working with them, and I really think that's what we need to invest more time in them. So, give me a couple of good stories, or give me a couple of transformational ideas you've seen happen from the results of your program.
Well, one young man, he actually is a mentor now. He was in our program and we helped him get scholarships to college. And he decided that he wanted to be a model. And so he got resources together. We worked with him on being able to advocate for himself. And you can go see him in Times Square. He's traveled the world. Like, he's a nationally known model, Route 21. Like, he's
Mm,
all over the place. And so he comes back and he speaks to my children a lot. And he was able to build that confidence and be able to go in those rooms and stand up strong and look people in the eye and be able to tell them, like, this is what I want to do, and be able to use his words without coming off as aggressive, or they look at our young black men as, oh, everything you say, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're being aggressive. And so
hmm
he
hmm
learned how to be able to use his words to get in those rooms, and now he's a famous model.
That's great. That's great. I want to commend you on doing that and working with your son and coming up with a program like that. That is really good. We're going to get ready to wrap up. Before I go, though, I want to ask you a couple more questions because we're going to have you on our podcast. We brought you on today just to give the audience a little bit of idea of what you are all about, and we're going to go into real detail and spend some time and really do that. And you can catch us on our YouTube channel where she'll be sitting back and we're going to talk to her more about her background and more what she does. But before she go, I want you to tell everybody about your books before you get out of here so we can mention your books and let people know how they can get the books and tell them what the books are all about.
So I have 7 published books. One of them is award winning. Grandma Hattie's Ice Cream has won 2 awards.
Hmm.
And actually, this is you're the first to hear it. It will be released in Spanish. I'm actually
Oh,
making an announcement tomorrow. So it teaches numbers and colors using scoops of ice cream.
okay.
Um, my books are all feature characters of color in real life situations, and they are for all ages. But Grandma Hattie's Ice Cream is kind of like the big one that everybody seems to love. So it is being released in Spanish this week.
Excellent. Where can they get that book at?
They can get all of my books on Amazon, Walmart, Target.com, Barnes and Noble, and on my website, jawansmith.com, JOWANSMITH.com.
Excellent. And again, I'm going to let you close us out with a few words before we go. Just give us a last closing message on how they can reach out to you, how they can meet you, and anything you want to tell the people that's listening that they can remember you by.
Well, they can follow us on all social medias at 1000 Ties, TIES. And we have our annual event February 8th. It's for the family. Come out, it's free. We're going to have all types of workshops for the children, for the moms, the dads, free yoga. February 8th, registration is open and the event is free.
And where it's going to be at?
It's going to be at Warrensville Heights High School, and it's open to anybody in Northeast Ohio. And we'll have stuff for the siblings, the little babies. So if you can't find a babysitter, bring the baby. We'll have something for them too.
That's excellent. That's excellent. You don't want to miss it, and you don't want to miss her on our podcast. We're going to keep you guys abreast of when that's going to happen. Jawan, I want to thank you again for coming on our program. I look forward to talking to you in person, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds
And
good.
we'll
Thank
be right back. Jawan, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me.
all you. Oh, it was great. Thank you for everything, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye. Tim, how you doing, sir?
How you doing? I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. We're gonna be ready to bring you on, sir.
All right.
You feeling good today?
Oh, hey, I feel good every day until something bad happens.
I know that's right.
This message is sponsored by the Cleveland Office of Minority Health and WOVU 95.9 FM. The social determinants of health are factors such as education level, healthcare access, and economic stability that may adversely impact your health. While these factors may not be understood by you, some institutions and people understand them clearly and use them to discriminate against you. The Cleveland Office of Minority Health can help you understand these factors and how they may adversely impact your health. Call us today at 216-664-4925 or online at clevelandhealth.org. We are here to help. G got it poppin' and I'm letting them know. Strategic moves, we're getting down. Radio show, real talk, authentic trust. You don't wanna miss it. Talking art, politics, culture, and business. G entertaining and educational. This is major. Special guests, talking plenty movers and shakers. Cleveland in the house, the time is right now. Strategic moves, radio show, we're getting down. Time to motivate, inspire, and right now, this is what you need. It is hosted by Ken Dow, art, politics, and culture. So let's go. Strategic moves with Ken Dow radio show. Let your voice be heard. Time to elevate. Call in on Talk to Me Tuesday. Hey, let your voice be heard. Time to elevate. 95.9 FM. Tune in and don't wait. What's on your mind Tuesday? Streaming on WOBU.org and 95.9 FM. And don't just listen. Jump in and be the conversation. Let's go.
All right, all right. It's welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, Cleveland. You're tuned in to Strategic Moves with Ken Dow radio show on WOVU 95.9 FM, where we're going to dive into stories and issues that truly matter to our community. And today, we're going to tackle one of the toughest and most heartbreaking topics I ever covered on our podcast. What we're going to talk a little bit about today is called online sextortion. And the gentleman who's going to be joining us today for that discussion is none other than Mr. Tim Woods. I had Tim and his wife on our program early on when we first got going, and we talked about what was going on in his situation. And Tim is going to come on and share with us what's going on or with his foundation, some of the new things that's updating everybody on what's been happening new with the as it relates to sextortion and give everybody some hopefully some really good news and some encouraging stuff. Tim, how you doing today, sir? How's your mental today, man?
Oh man, it's good. I can't complain this time. How about yourself?
Oh man, everything on my end is pretty good, man. I was really glad to hear that you guys can you were able to come on. How's the wife doing?
Oh man, she's great. Nice and bubbly as usual, smiling.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that, man. Everything you guys been going through and getting through, man, is really tough. So I'm really glad to hear that everything is going well. Before we get started, Tim, if you don't mind, can you give everybody just a little background about the foundation and what happened with James and your situation so that we could give the audience some idea of the background and what took place?
Yeah. So in late November 2022, our son committed suicide because he was a victim of an online crime called sextortion. And my wife and I, we didn't like it, of course, because we lost our only child. He was our baby. And we took it upon ourselves to start telling other people, hey, this is what's going on. We didn't want to be quiet and just sit there and let whatever happened to us put us in a dark place. And we've been going around educating people, informing them what's going on. We talk in schools, we talk to politicians, forensic nurses. We're in conferences. We've been traveling across the whole United States. We've been as far as California, as far south as Texas, and as far east as Boston. And we just feel like it's our job now. Our kid is gone, and we don't want anybody else to have to suffer through what we suffered through. So we try to touch as many people as we can. And we've been doing this. We've been official since January 13th of 2023.
Excellent, excellent. And you spoke about James was targeted. Can you give us a little more detail about when you say he was targeted, how they targeted him and took him through that process and how that went?
Yeah, so he was contacted by someone on Instagram, direct messaging. It was someone he didn't know, but he talked to him anyway, like a lot of us do. We, say hi to people and people speak back. Same thing happened to him. And eventually, so after they were talking for a period of time, eventually they decided to be sexual about their conversation. They got nude on video with each other, exposing themselves, and the person on the other end with James decided to take screenshots and use them to blackmail him. During that blackmail, it was just 19 and a half hours of constant text messages, mental torture. They kept him up all night. He was in a really bad place because of it, and after time ran out, he decided he didn't want to be here anymore. So
And what's really amazing about the story when we talked about it was that James went on that day as if nothing was going on to you guys. He
correct.
he was dealing with all of this on the inside. I remember talking with your wife, and she said that they went to the college fair over at Warrensville High School that
Yeah,
day.
it was a HBCU college fair at Warrensville High School on
Mhm.
November 19th, Saturday morning. And they get all the HBCUs there. It's a beautiful event. They go there, they get to go and talk to all the different recruits. They get to see what the school has to offer, and it's a beautiful event. I really support it, and I think that more people should know about it.
Yeah, and that whole time while they were there, he was dealing with that. They were calling him, bugging him, trying to get him to send money and all the necessary things that was taking place. And it was just really shameful on how the things they took him through. And just and we're going to move on a little bit on that. But and what was the amount of money that they were seeking?
Well, they lied to him at first and said $6,000. They knew he didn't have $6,000, but when you tell somebody, "Hey, you got to pay $13,000 to get a brand new car," and then somebody else says, "Well, we could give you that same car for 4,000," you're gonna take that smaller price. That's exactly what they did with him. They asked for 6,000, and then they said, "Well, you give us $300, you'll be done with us." So
Wow.
they pretty much settled on $300.
That is so wild. That is wild. So, James, tell me a little bit about the struggles afterwards, after this happened and you knew it. Tell us, take people through some of the struggles that you went through in trying to get help and trying to get to the people who actually did this.
Well, of course, we contacted law enforcement, the Streetsboro Police here where we live. They came out, they did their investigation, and after they did what they did, everything got passed on to Homeland Security. And it turns out the people that targeted our son and attacked him, they're overseas in a place called the Ivory Coast. Of course, local law enforcement can't get to them, so that's a government issue. And the government even came back and told us that they can't get to them either because there's no extradition treaty with that country. So we hit a brick wall on that. But as far as us moving forward, still, we're still trying to help other people, stop what's going on with them. We've helped capture multiple pedophiles. We got one that's on the run right now, still being tracked by police.
Hmm.
We inspire children and empower them to speak up, and say, "Hey, this is what's happening to me. Can you help me?" And
So let's talk about the foundation. Now you got the foundation up. I know James was a very big track star, track athlete, and that. So tell everybody about the foundation and what you guys are doing there.
So, James, he was a track athlete, and we made sure that our foundation that we started, we used him as our logo. So when you look at our logo, it's a picture of him running over a hurdle, and it's a beautiful picture. And
Hmm.
we just take that and we say, "Hey, this is our son." We make sure that everybody sees him, not us.
Hmm.
We say, "This is our son, this is what happened to him," and then we just go through and we tell everybody this is how to avoid it, this is how to get out of it if it does happen, because you can't 100% stop anything, right? So we try to help people on both sides of the coin. This
And what's some of the suggestions you would give to parents? What are, I guess I would ask you this, what would be some of the telltale signs that you would probably think that maybe you ought to say something to your kid or check up on what they're doing? What would you, looking back now, what would you say would be some of those signs, James?
So as far as signs, sometimes signs, depending on who's being attacked, is very hard to notice. With guys, things just happen so quickly. So it might not be enough time for you to see the signs. With girls, things move a whole lot slower. Yeah,
Hmm.
I hate to say it this way, but guys and girls are so different. Girls, you got to butter them up and
Hmm.
build up that trust. With guys, we pretty much don't have our defenses up, so it's easier for the predators to come in and get what they want. So
Hmm.
you try to look for changes in behavior, sleep patterns, people getting rid of certain things that they have that's their possessions, change in appearance like cutting hair or maybe bruises on the body. It's all these different things that we could overlook as normal, but if it's prolonged for a period of time or if it's too many of these things, that's a sign that says, hey, I need to sit down and talk to this person. Like an alcoholic, you see, hey, they're drinking a beer, but over time you notice, hey, they drink a lot of beers and this is how it's affecting them. You sit that person down and talk to them. Same thing with children. Something's going on, sit them down, talk to them, try to say, hey, I'm here for you. Let them know that you're that person that they want to talk to. You're supposed to be, as a parent, their number one line of defense, and you hope that the parent is that person that's willing to help you, because sometimes that parent isn't the person that can help you. But we also encourage children, talk to your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, your teachers, your bus driver, your coaches. There's tons of adults out there that have information that could be useful to you. Just
Now,
ask.
here's a hard one for you, James. How can parents create a safe space for their children and their kids to come forward without fear?
So this is one of the things that I tell parents when we talk to them. Parents, kids look at you as a superhero. A kid's whole life, the parent never tells them, hey, this is the dumb stuff that I did when I was a kid. They always have to hear those stories from their parents, grandparents, or from
Mhm.
their aunts and uncles. The parent never tells that story. So when you don't tell that story, you create this wall in front of you and your child, making it to where your child can't come to you because they don't want to disappoint you. You have
Mhm.
to break that down so that they look at you as more of a human versus a superhero. Let them know, hey, I did dumb stuff too. Here's some of the dumb stuff I did. This is how I had to get out of it. This is who I asked for help. We got to do those things so that our kids are more willing to open up to us. Because, like I said, if they look at us a certain way, we're going to be one of the last people that they go to. They talk to their
Interesting.
friends all the time, but
Hmm.
not their
Hmm.
parents.
And when should the family involve law enforcement, and and how can we be assured that these authorities are actually taking these cases serious? Some people feel like it's already we have this thing with the police and everything else, and FBI and those kind of people. So when should you really should get the law enforcement involved in what's going on, and and since you done been through it, I guess a good question. And are they really taking them serious? And so let's see. What say you about that, James?
Well, I'm gonna say I can't speak for all law enforcement officials, but I
Hmm.
know that here where we live,
Hmm.
our Streetsboro police, they were fantastic. I called them. I said, "Hey, this is what happened." They came
Hmm.
out immediately. They did their investigation, and of course, things went faster for me in my particular case because there was a death involved.
Hmm.
People who are still alive, they might get a different result, a slower process of moving, but the police are still there to help. And if they're not helping, you know, keep going, say, hey, this is what's going on, give them all the information. Eventually, something to click, or somebody will come by and say, hey, this case sounds like another case I was working. And they'll see that it's a bigger problem than what they started at. Because we have known people to contact law enforcement and not get anywhere, which
Yeah,
is
that's been a big problem in a lot of cases.
it is. But there's still people you could contact NetMec, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children.
Hmm.
They help everybody 17 and under. They turn down no one. They'll listen to everything you got to say. They take that information and they disperse it. So if you can't get law enforcement to help you, contact NetMec and they'll help do the same thing.
All right, listeners, let's really, James, outside of that, I mean, Tim, outside of that, is there any other steps you think they ought to take in going through this process? You said that was one calling that number. Is there any other outlets that you want to shout out real quick?
Well, local law enforcement is always number one in my opinion. Contact them because
Mhm,
they'll try to help you and they'll get the people that's involved in torture. NetMake, that's another resource you can use. Also, there's 988. It's the suicide hotline because a lot of times people do think about harming themselves, and we don't want that at all. So
mhm,
between those three, those are the three main ones that I would point someone toward. But
mhm,
even still, you know, you, everybody has a best friend that they could talk to.
mhm.
Talk to them, and maybe the best friend might have an idea that could help you out better than what you could come up with on your own. Because two heads are better than one. But the main thing is always talk to someone. Don't just hold it inside. Don't keep it to yourself and let it fester.
Is law enforcement really equipped to be able to deal with a lot of these cases that's going on out here, Tim?
Yes and no.
Hmm.
So all police departments aren't the same. They're not equal, but
Hmm.
some of them have more information than others, and I found that they all don't share information with each other.
Hmm.
So, you might be, in one area, East Cleveland, and the police come out to your house, do their investigation, and then, you hear nothing back from them. Whereas you could be on the west side of Cleveland, get a different police station. They come out, do the same investigation, and get further than the other side did. It's just one of those things where you live might affect how much help you get or what type of help you get.
All right, James, we're going to get ready to round out of here. Before we go, though, I want to give everybody there are some good news from this. Some of your hard work
Oh
that you
yeah,
have been out there working on. And in the last few days, there was a new law that was passed in the state of Ohio, the Brandon law, uh,
Braden
Re-
Law.
Braden law.
Yes.
And it was recently passed in Ohio, making sextortion a felony. Why don't you give everybody some more details and all the things that took place and how that all came about?
So the mother of that young man is someone that we personally know. She was locked out of her son's phone after he had passed for 10 months.
Hmm.
The Apple they refused to open the phone for her. They said it's a violation of his amendment rights, and they would not do it. It took her 10 months to find out why her baby is no longer here. And when she found out, she went on a tear. She started, saying this is what's going on. This ain't right. She was pushing politicians, and she was one of the main reasons why that law got passed. So that law is in place to help people. So if like with James, if we couldn't get into his phone initially, we contact the police. They get in touch with whoever they have to, the whatever phone carrier. That phone carrier within 30 days has to have that phone opened
Hmm.
so that we can know exactly what is on it because it's our right to know what happens to our kids.
That's correct.
And for people to say we don't have the right to monitor our children, there's something wrong with that. So Braden's law pretty much sidesteps that.
Excellent. And that's in place right now.
That is in place right now. The governor signed it last week Wednesday, and it was a beautiful thing. So it's,
Excellent.
it's
Excellent. I
part.
saw you guys on the news and everything. That's when I was like, oh, I got to call them back up. I just saw them on the news. So
Yeah.
we're going to get ready to let you get up out of here, Tim. But before you go, I want you to just tell everybody how they can reach out and meet, get information on the foundation. And if they want to get involved, how they can do that.
Well, we have a website that you could go to. It's www.letsdoitforjamesfoundation.org. You could get on there. You can see all the things we do. We're out in the community. We we post a lot of different stuff. We go to a lot of different places. We speak at a lot of different events. We have a Instagram and Facebook. Do it for James Foundation. You could get on there. You could follow us. We do posts. We do videos. We like to let everyone know what it is that we're doing. And every year for our son's birthday, around that time, his birthday was July 23rd. We have a walk run that we've been doing for the past 2 years. This is going to be our third year doing it. This year it'll be July 19th. We invite everybody to come out. It's a beautiful time. It's a $35 registration fee. You can walk, you can run. It's a 5K. And then after that walk and run is done, we have different people out there like the FBI, ICAC. We have mental health officials. We have a lot of things out there to give kids firsthand information on what's going on, the truths, myth busters, all that different stuff. And we also have games that they could play. It's just a nice, beautiful day to help, everybody feel better about a bad situation, to get more information, to make the world safer for tomorrow. It's a good thing. We invite everybody to come out.
Hey, Tim. Tim, thanks for coming on our program. Excuse me, everybody. Thanks for coming on our program. Did a wonderful job, as always, in educating everybody on what they need to know as it relates to sextortion. Please let your wife and everyone know I said hello and keep up the good work that you guys are doing. We're going to always promote what you're doing and try to keep the word out there as much as we can. Again, Tim, thanks for coming on our program, and we'll be talking to you soon. And we'll be right back, everybody, for What's on Your Mind Tuesday. Right back. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it, brother.
Oh, hey, no problem. Anytime, man. I thank you for having me.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
There you go. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Turn the music down in my set. No, just turn the music down up on thing. Uh, that's the cart. Turn the cart down. Yeah, turn the cart down. Oh, don't worry about it. There you go. All right. All right. There you go. All right, we're gonna get you going.
We're gonna get me going.
We'll get you going.
Yeah. I was like, Ken trying to trip me up asking me questions about this DBE. How that ain't my area of expertise.
That is not your area. Let me find your spot real quick here. Introduce the scene, real. Oh, this is it right here. No, we're not gonna do that. I skipped that whole section on the job stuff. So I got you
Okay.
together. And we're back again. Welcome to Strategic Moves with Ken Dow Radio Show. I'm your host, Ken Dow, the place where we bring art, culture, politics, and business all together. And we do it every Tuesday right here on the WOVU 95.9 FM radio station. Today, we're going to dive into the growing trend of corporate America and public programming, scaling back their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Walmart, Meta, and even the Ohio Department of Transportation has made headlines recently for scaling back and halting programs aimed to ensuring equity and inclusion. But what does that mean for the community, for black-owned businesses, and for other broader flight? Excuse me. What does that mean for black-owned businesses? We're going to have that discussion right now with none other. To help us unpack that discussion right now, we have joining us Dr. Heather Burton, a trailblazer at DEI, and always willing to get on the phone and talk with us a little bit about DEI here in Cleveland. She's one of my experts and she's a contributor. She came on and talked to us on our YouTube channel and our podcast, and she's going to come on today and kind of, we're going to just talk a little bit about that. And the lines are open. If you want to chime in on the conversation about DEI and what's going on, you can do that. All you have to do is call in to 216-271-0959. Call in at 216-271-0959 to get into the conversation. So, Dr. Burton, thanks for coming on the
Yes,
program. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, everything is everything, as they say.
Right, I'm trying to stay warm. That's it right now.
That's it. That's it. That's the best part about this. So, Dr. Burton, we had a conversation, and you were on there before, and we were talking about the fact that all of these companies are now starting to turn back and roll back. It looks like Meta has joined the thing where they're saying that they're not going to even fact check no more. They just like, we're just going to do what we need to do, and on top of us not fact checking, we're going to throw DEI out the window with it as well. What's your thoughts on everything and all these companies, and as African Americans who are fought so hard to be in that space, how do you see us working through that now?
So Ken, that is a loaded question. There was a lot. There's a lot in that one question, and I think, as we think about DEI, and I always start with questions around DEI. With starting with, first we've got to look at what the acronym stands for,
Mm,
and the acronym stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so when we begin to break down the words, that's what helps us to understand the purpose of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, when we think about this from a historical perspective, is that there has always been pushback. This is not anything new.
mhm,
Policy laws have always hindered those that are marginalized, underrepresented minorities, underrepresented groups, minorities, whatever. But when we talk about the Black community, specifically when we talk about Black folks, we can think about the thousands of laws and policies that were put in place historically that have kept Black people back, kept them down, kept them oppressed, kept them in marginalized situations. And so when we think about that, this push in 2020, late 2024, 2025 is no different. It is no different because we've taken we've taken the acronym, and I use the acronym because that's what has become the buzzword to
mhm.
push back, is the acronym of DEI. Because the reality is, if we really think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and so here's the thing. And we take diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we think about diversity and diversity being representation, we would look beyond for those people who just want to fight against race.
Mhm,
Because
mhm,
that's the ultimate thing, and that's what we're pushing back on. And so if we look at the political climate, we talk about that, but if we look at the political climate, this whole MAGA, make America great again, and going back to Reagan with his whole concepts with America being great again
mhm,
also, is
mhm.
that if we think about that, and we want to, or let me say this, when we think about that we know the pushback is based on race. But however, if we really think about diversity, what folks don't realize is that they're messing with every element of anybody's social identity. And so when you attack diversity, you're attacking representation as it relates to able-bodied folks. You're attacking representation as it relates to ageism, as it relates to sexism, as it relates to genderism. And so it's all of these other aspects of diversity that folks don't realize will be affected because you want to attack the Black folks.
Well, here's another loaded question.
Oh, come on, Ken, with the loaded questions today. No,
Is they attacking Black folks, or are they attacking everything else that you talked about?
they're attacking all of us.
Mhm,
But they're attacking all of us. But if we look at what the policy really puts into place, it hurts us more than any other community. And it hurts us more because here's the other thing, is that assumptions can be made about Black people based on physical appearance.
mhm.
And so compared to other social identities, other disabilities, they aren't visible to the eye. But when we talk about race, race is visible to the eye. And so, in that visibility, it causes that pushback to happen because if I can make assumptions about you based on seeing you, then I can do the things that I'm doing as it relates to DEI.
Do you think the African American community gave up on affirmative action too easy and settled for DEI, and as a result of it, now we have nothing? And what I mean by that is, at one point, affirmative action was the thing that African Americans pushed for to get some kind of equality. And to some degree, there were a movement in the country that felt that that was necessary from white America and from everyone else. Then we got to a point where other people, we mentioned, not to, and this is no slight against anybody else, I'm just really talking about black folks,
Mm-hmm.
who joined in the pot and put us in a pot that said we should join this diversity, equity, and inclusion. And as a result of that, we totally lost affirmative action. And what's your thoughts on that? Do you think there's any truth to that?
Well, I think first it's important to understand that those who benefited from affirmative action in the majority was still not us. And so when
Hmm.
we talk about the aspect of affirmative action, white women benefited more so from affirmative action than we did. And even when we
You
talk
have to
about
explain that. I can't. You talking about my loaded question? I can't let you leave that out there.
yeah,
So
so
explain
even
to
when
me
we
how
talk
that
about
happened.
affirmative action, because here's the other thing is that when we talk about affirmative action was put in place. And so where I really want to go to is what affirmative action is talking about, how demographics are classified. And so
Mhm,
if we think about forms that people fill out when we're talking about affirmative action policies, is
mhm,
it says that discrimination will not happen. And so you're filling out these forms that provide demographics for companies, to provide demographics for things that you may do. So you're looking at race, gender, veteran status. And so in looking at those forms, and when we're specifically talking about hiring and moving folks ahead, it wasn't black people that benefited from those affirmative action hiring forms. It was white women who still benefited. It
mhm,
goes back, and we can even go back to when we look at the suffrage movement, when we look at the voting rights movement, and we think about all of this, is that I think, and this, Ken, I told you it's a loaded question because it's taking me another direction too. But when we think about this and we think about this aspect of who actually benefits from certain policies that are put in place, I
mhm.
want to go back to the introduction of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which
Okay.
is one of those introductions that happened because of a legal case. And I think it was Bakke versus California. And
Mhm,
so when we think about the introduction of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I always say diversity was that sugar coated word. It's a soft word. And
mhm,
even when we define it, and I defined this earlier when we talk about representation, it includes every element of diversity. Well, guess what happens when we add in every element of diversity? Then the thing that causes the most tense
mhm,
race,
mhm,
we can dilute it because now we can focus on other aspects.
mhm,
So that's what killed us with diversity. But it just didn't kill us with diversity. It's been killing us all along. We can go back, and I think now, as I tell my students, this might be a Dr. Burtonism, but we
mhm,
can go back and we think about history, and we think about even the debate within the community when we're talking about Black folks.
mhm,
Is that we go back to a theoretical space or a philosophical space, and this debate as to do we integrate, do we practice separatism, do we practice accommodation, do
mhm,
we practice assimilation? And so, in all of that, we now are trying to figure out how do I get equity? How do I get fairness? How do I get justice? Because I'm still trying to figure out my place within society. And so we go from, okay, here's minority affairs for most places that'll help us. And especially within my space when we're talking about, education. But here's minority affairs, this will help us. Then we go to the melting pot, because what happened with the melting pot, Ken? Everybody said we need to all be together. We need to come together.
mhm,
And then
mhm,
we move to diversity. And so we always end up at the bottom because other social identities, other folks come in and redirect the conversation in terms of moving ahead. And that, I hate to say this, but it goes back to the formation of the country.
Mhm.
And especially when we're talking about American context, but even when we talk about globally of what happens when we're talking about Black folks, is that especially within American society, there's always something that's put in place to make us have to, or make others put us in a certain category.
So,
And diversity, equity, inclusion, I'll let you go to the next question, because I was going to say,
I was going to say, do you believe it's going to continue? You see it getting worse before it gets any better?
yeah. And if we look at history, we can see there's always regress when there's progress. And
Hmm.
so if we look back and we look at the pattern, is that there is progress, then there's regress. So we go from slavery to reconstruction, progress.
Hmm.
And then who got mad? We got the formation of the KKK. And so
Hmm.
now the Freedmen's Bureau is destroyed. So then we go into Jim Crow. Jim
Hmm.
Crow removing the civil rights, and people say, oh, let's integrate. Let's integrate because integration is going to bring about this. And so we move forward, but now we've got to have the Civil Rights Act of 64. We've got to have the Voting Rights Act. We've got to have the Housing Rights Act. And so all of this, but then we still regress again. We move forward with affirmative action, but then we regress because there's unfairness with this person in this case. And then we move forward now with diversity, equity, inclusion. And then we get somebody in office now and some other folks around the community who say, oh no,
Hmm.
y'all moving too far, y'all getting too much.
Hmm.
So now we destroy that. And if we can think about what happened with the Freedmen's Bureau, the moving forward, and when we talk about reconstruction, we talk about everything, we look at Black Wall Street.
Right.
We develop, but nope, y'all got too much. We about to burn this
Okay,
down. We
burn
about
it
to tear
down.
all this down. And that's, but, and that, I'm not going to go into that,
Well,
but I was going to
we know do because I keep telling every time we always start off talking about diversity and equity, but Dr. Burton is going like she's a contributor. I'm gonna have her come back on our program because she has a whole lot to offer us and a whole lot in that mind of hers that she wants to get out and let us hear about. And we're really looking forward to it. Doctor, we're coming to the end of our program, and I want to really thank you for coming on. You got something you want to say to end it as it relates to DEI and what we should look out for, anything before we go?
yeah, I think I would like to end, especially talking with DEI and diversity, equity, and inclusion, is that we've got to do the work, but we've also got to understand the work and understand the impact of the work. And so I challenge anyone that's engaged in the work or anyone that's interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion to really think about the words. Is that when we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we're talking about creating equitable spaces, creating fairness, where marginalized communities, specifically Black people, have the same opportunity. Because if I look at hiring, and I do a lot with hiring, but if we look at hiring, is making sure that they have the same access to get into the pool. If we look at businesses, if we look at contracts, that they have the same opportunity to get into the pool. And so this is where we go wrong with really understanding what diversity, equity, and inclusion is that one, we've got to have the representation. Two, we've got to create equitable spaces. And three, we've got to create inclusive spaces. And so if we really think about that, it will change our mindset because it's intentional. It's intentional to be anti DEI and it's intentional to be pro diversity, equity, and inclusion. And if you are human, then you're going to focus on being pro diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hey, we really appreciate you coming on our program. You do well as always. Thanks again. If anybody wants to know more about Dr. Burton, please follow us on our Facebook page and our Instagram page. You'll see more information about her and what she's doing at the school. I want to thank everybody for coming on our program. Tim Woods for being on, Jawan Smith for being on, and awesome Dr. Burton for coming on our program today. This Talk to Me Tuesday will be back next week right here on this channel at 12 o'clock noon. We'll talk to you then and we'll see you then. Peace. Thanks again, Doctor. You did great. You did great. Great job today.
I thought we didn't even get a chance to get to the one question I want to talk about. Is it a political or economic move?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Political, economic.
Oh,
I,
no, you did great.
well, thank you. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
oh, thank you for coming on again. Yeah, I had to wait till my computer is trying to catch up. I had to disconnect it from all that. So we caught up now. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, you did an awesome job. Thanks again. Like I
Of
said, we
course.
get on there. We just like to talk, and you filled in and did very well. And we'll keep it going. I want to talk to you about reparations and a few other things that's going to be coming up. So as it come, I'm gonna shoot you over an email. If you can get on, say, oh, I got some time. If not, then just let me know. You'll do the next one. But we're gonna just keep that going. Okay.
I want to come back to your question. Though we need to do another one to ask this question about is it a political move or economic move or both?
I was trying to get to that one. I was trying to get to that one. Yeah.
And I like this caller question. That caller one question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is DEI just about fairness?
Right. 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 And I was trying to get us there.
I
Hey,
know,
but
but I'm
it was
long with it.
yeah, we was just going. But we're gonna get better as we start doing more of these programs. So just hang in there with us, doctor. All right.
Of course, of course. All
All right.
right,
We
thanks,
appreciate
Ken.
you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Better this week?
How much better?
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
he was more nervous. Last week he was more free.
Mm-hmm.
This week he was more nervous. And this week you wasn't clued in on our spots because you cared less about our spots. You didn't. And if you played them after you was doing something. So he was running simultaneously at the same time. And that's something that you got to really care about our spots. You have to. You have to come in as a producer and say, what spots am I running?
Mm-hmm.
So
You don't think we ain't play enough of them? That's what you're trying
no,
to.
you didn't play them.
We
Play
played some
one.
spot, do we?
Yeah, we played.
Well, I'm gonna say it like this: you play them, you got other stuff going, and by the time you remember that's our spot, you got to come out of somewhere else, and the spot's starting in the middle. If you tape your program, you'll hear it.
Okay.
Believe me, I'm.
So I don't. Tell me what you mean, because I'm trying to
Okay,
understand
so
what you mean.
so let's say
Okay.
it's time for the spot.
Okay.
Your music,
Okay.
which is awesome.
Okay.
That's why I wish at the end it says, "Let me back up. Let me start this way."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It should always be, and now Ken, or back to Ken. You should always have a segue that bring you back, even though your music is,
At the end of the music.
yeah,
Okay.
your music is good.
Okay.
It lets me know who I'm listening to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good part. But when you go there, your music should go down, and that's when our spot come on. But if he's focused on the music and he's playing the spot at the same time, the spot will start in the middle when we hear it in the audience because there's two things going on at one time.
Oh, you saying he was playing them at the same time?
And your music supersedes the
Oh,
spot.
we didn't know he was. He didn't know he was doing, but that's what he was doing.
That's just again.
Okay. I got
That's a produce. That's not. This is not a beat up.
No, I just wanted to understand so we won't do it again.
This is nowhere near a beat up. And he had his at the beginning when you have your microphone on and your headset right here, you got a feedback. That's that echo when y'all. Did you hear that?
Yeah, that's where that was coming from. I couldn't figure out.
That's
where
the
it was
echo.
coming. All right.
Okay, and
so you got to have them on if you're gonna have them on, or turn them down.
because if you got them up against that, that picks it up.
Okay.
See if you do, like most DJs I don't use, they got one in, one out because that's how they roll, right? Well, it picks it up.
Mm-hmm.
I
got it.
Oh, so if you take one off one ear, then it.
If your headset is up too loud, that's why I try to show you to turn the knob up and down, the last knob, the very last knob, because if you don't turn it down, it's gonna be loud and it's gonna come through, and then you got two voices when you was talking to the first lady.
Mm-hmm. That's when y'all ran in and got it straight.
You got two voices going on simultaneously. That means your mic needs to go off. The only other way that happens is when you're recording in here and you're using your library from here, and this is up. It will cause another echo. Right. It will cause another echo. So I think you should consider relaxing.
Mhm.
And when you're going from one segment to another segment, you got to have something that put me back in the Ken Dow. Like when y'all did y'all feedback on the Browns or whatever going on with Miles Garrett,
Mhm.
amazing, man. That's just amazing. I don't know what we're doing in Cleveland. I just broke my
I
heart,
saw
man.
that. I'm like, what the
It broke
heck?
my
Are you
heart, man. It
kidding
broke
me?
my heart, man. It broke my heart.
That's it. They
That
did,
broke my heart. That broke
and
my
he
heart.
said he didn't want to
But the
redo
way
it.
y'all had y'all conversation,
Mhm.
dialogue is great. Your Ken Dow music is great. So I'm looking for that fight that was in last week.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you did good when the lady, but she was just in
Mhm.
down here, and you was trying to get her up and
Yeah, because when he came in, he turned it all the way up.
yeah, but see, there's another. If you hit this right here,
And I thought that I didn't want to mess with it
no,
because
you hit
I
that, and
right.
you see where it says game.
Yeah,
You see right there, it says game, right?
yeah,
You hit that, and you can go gang left, you can go gang right.
okay.
Gang left, gang right. But the only reason
Gang right is up, right?
right. But you go back to neutral now. The reason you don't do that is because you have the privilege.